Good morning, Malacañang Press Corner. Nandito tayo sa Weekly Economic Briefing. Today we have PCOO Director Janino Padilla.
Thank you. Magandang umaga po sa lahat and welcome to the weekly economic press briefing hosted by Economic Development Cluster and PCOO. In behalf of PCOO and DOF, ASEC Tony Lambino, who won't be able to come today, ako po muna ang inyong makasama ngayon. Though siniguro naman po ng economic managers ng ating pamahalaan ang kanilang tungkulin para lalo pong mapaunlad ang ekonomiya ng bansa. Last week po, ipinaliwanag ni ASEC Tony ang mga main drivers ng inflation noong buwan ng Setyembre. Nagbigay naman ng update si Yusek Ruth Castelo ng Department of Trade and Industry sa mga hakbangin ng DTI para mapababa ang presyo ng bigas. Gaya na lang na pagkipagtulungan sa Philippine Consumer Centric Trades Association Incorporated o PCCTA na binubuo ng mga malalaking supermarket retailers sa bansa. At pagkipag-ugnayan sa Metro Manila Council o MCC para mapag-issue ng local executive order sa revocation ng business permits ng mga rice retailers na hindi nagbebenta ng regular at well-milled rice. At siyempre, kasama din last week si NFA Regional Director Angel Imperial Jr. na ipinaliwanag ang sitwasyon ng mga rice retailers sa bansa at mga regulasyong ginawa ng ahensya para mapababa ang presyo ng bigas. Ngayong araw naman, makakasama natin ang mga opisyal mula sa Commission on Higher Education o CHED, sila Attorney Cinderella Haro, OIC Executive Director, CHED, at Attorney Carmelita Yadaw Season, OIC Executive Director of Unified Financial Assistance System for Tertiary Education o UNIFAST. Alam nyo, since time immemorial, sinasabi na ang mga katagang education is the key to success. And that is one of the reasons kung bakit kasama ang free tuition para sa mga state universities and colleges sa prioridad na mapupunduhan ng ating pamahalaan. Hindi lang pagtatayo ng infrastructure ang pinagtutuunan ng pansin ng ating pamahalaan, kundi maging ang tinatawag natin na human capital development. We want to secure a better future for our youth by giving them better access to education. And how do we do that? What are the means and laid down by the government to make sure na hindi magpapahuli sa Pilipinas sa larangan na edukasyon? Those questions will be answered by our key speakers today. Pilipinas, Friends from Media, Attorney Cinderella Haro, and Attorney Carmelita Yadaw Season.
Good morning. We are here today to give information concerning the status of the budget of CHED that will be done by Attorney Haro, and I will provide you updates on the implementation of RA 10931 because that is a big aspect of the budget of the Commission on Higher Education.
Good morning. I'm Attorney Cinderella Filipina Benitez Haro, currently the OIC Executive Director of CHED. So as to the budget of CHED, prior to train law, President Duterte signed, of course, yung RA 10931, which is the law which provides quality education to our students by providing free tuition and other school fees to state universities and colleges, local colleges and universities, and our state-run technical vocational institutions. So just to give you a brief background, one of the purposes, of course, of train law was to ensure that the government will be able to provide for the needs of those under its jurisdiction through the provision for better education. For the year 2018, CHED was given a budget of 40 billion for the implementation of RA 10931. And previously, for the year 2017, CHED was only given a budget of 8 billion for free tuition in students who enrolled in state universities and colleges. So, makikita po ninyo yung changes ng budget ng CHED for the provision for better education, for free tuition and other school fees from 8 billion to 40 billion. For the year 2019, there was also an increase of somehow 3 billion po for the budget of CHED for our UniFast, for the implementation of UniFast or for the implementation of our RA 10931. Attorney Yadaw will give you an update on the implementation of RA 10931.
Okay. The budget of UniFast last for school year 2018-2019 was 40 billion. Broken down as follows. 16 billion of that was for free higher education, meaning tuition and other school fees in state universities and colleges, and 78 local universities and colleges. Attorney Haro mentioned last year there was an 8 billion allotment, but that was only for tuition, free tuition, and only for the 112 SUCs. But this year, it is 16 billion for the state universities and colleges and 78 local universities and colleges that are recognized by CHED, meaning passing quality standards in CHED. With respect to the test free TVET, that is 7 billion pesos of the 40 billion, and that amount has been transferred by UniFast CHED to the Technical Education Skills Development Authority. They are the ones mandated to implement the TVET, free TVET. The other big chunk of the 40 billion is the tertiary education subsidy. And this tertiary education subsidy is allotted on a prioritized basis and biased towards the poorest of the poor, the near poor, and the poor. And this will also carry the program of CHED, the former program of CHED, the Expanded Student Grant in Aid for Poverty Alleviation. So that is 16 billion. And the 1 billion remaining is allotted or allocated for the student loan program, the short-term student loan program. The long-term program will not yet be undertaken this year because it needs to really be studied very carefully because that is a long-term income-based loan. So this is the status of our funds right now. No? For free higher education, we have already allocated 3.2 billion. Remember that 16 billion is for the whole school year. So it's 8 billion that we are targeting this first semester. We have already processed 3.2 billion, and the others are in the next slide. No, but for the 7 billion for free TVET, that's already allocated to TESTA. For for tertiary education subsidy, for the ESG-PPA, which is a priority because this is a continuing program, 221 million has already been allocated and paid to 55 state universities and colleges. 325 million is still being processed for 45 SUCs, and there are still 6 state universities and colleges that have yet to submit their billing to us. We have also allocated 3% admin cost to our partners. That is 6,638,000 for our partner institutions who will be implementing the TES and the student loan program. So ito pong student loan program naman ay ka-approve lang po nito ng UniFast Governing Board last Monday, and we are also implementing it now through our TES online portal. We are in the process of awaiting submissions of applications from the entire bureaucracy of public and private higher education institutions. And this will be ranked according to their income, per capita income, as well as whether or not they are in cities or municipalities that do not have state universities and colleges. So we also tried to facilitate or fast-track our free higher education billing, and that's the reason why we were able to, in 3 days, get the billings of our SUCs and LUCs, which amounted to 3.2 billion. We are in the process of continuing the evaluation and eventual disbursement of the remainder of that 8 billion for this first semester. So next slide, please. Yes. So this is our cash disposition of our free higher education of 8 billion. Those who opted for fund transfer are a minority, the disbursement mechanism of fund transfer. And the total amount that was allotted to them is 76,770,375. When we did expedite billings, in order to fast track the processing, we were able to, as I said, process about 3.227 billion plus. And those that sent billings after September 28 until October 14, the total amount of these billings would amount to 1,844,990,000. And there is still an estimated billings that we have to process from about 84 of the 190 SUCs and LUCs in the sum of 2.396 billion. So taking all of them together from the projections that we made, of the 8 billion, we will be able to process about 7.545 billion. So next, please. Now, before we can really clear them for really payment, we have to have them submit the certificates of tuition fee and other school fees. If you will recall, last year, it was only for tuition. So it was quite a little bit easy. Although it's challenging, it was also very tedious for us because it's the first time that we did this revolutionary kind of financing in government. It has never been done before. And right now, the challenge is it's not only tuition, but it is tuition and 13 other school fees. So we have to factor in all of that. And it's not easy because the schools have different kinds of fees. So we really have to be careful about putting them in the mold where they will qualify. So for those who have submitted, of the 113 SUCs, at this point in time, only 19 are compliant, 9 are not compliant, and 32 have not submitted. Those that have submitted but still have issues are 53. Now, with respect to the CHED-recognized LUCs, there's 78. Compliant na po yung 29. Non-compliant, 2 na lang. Did not submit 17. And submitted but still with issues are 30. So you will see that both in free higher education, we are really being very careful because this will also define next semester's evaluation. This is the first time it has happened, so we are really challenged. But we are doing our job because this is social legislation for the benefit of our Filipino youth and their families. Next. Okay. We have a preliminary analysis of enrollment data and enrollment capacity. We asked the schools, the 190 schools, to submit to us their enrollment data for school year 2015-2016 via school year 2018-2019 because we wanted to see if there was a big change or if it is true that there is a migration, a big migration from the private to the public institutions or higher institutions of higher learning. At this point, we have 45 out of the 112 SUCs that have submitted their disclosures to us. We are still gathering, as usual. They're in the process of complying with so many things. But we will really see this through up to the last state university or college, So this is what was disclosed. Yung makita. If you will compare the freshmen in 2015-2016 and the freshman enrollment now in 2018-2019, but this is only less than half po ng population, it would show that the number of freshmen in 2015-2016 was a total of 217,783. But if you look now, there was a 2-year period where there were no enrollees for first, and then another 2 years for freshmen because of the K-12. But now, they have already gone back to school and they have already graduated from their K-12. So we are looking now at data of enrollees for the first term, no, of school year 2018-2019. So at 40% submission, the data already shows 183,932 enrollees for freshmen. So that is not too far off from the total number in 2015-2016, but given that we are still awaiting other submissions of other SUCs, we will still see that that number might actually really increase some more. No? So for transferees, hindi masyadong malaki. From 596 in 2015, now it's just 312 for freshmen. And then returning students, that's where we see the big number of returning students. From in 2015-2016, it's 5,225. And then now, when we ask for information, the number of qualified enrollees was something like 3,679, which is lower, but still, if they were qualified, if there were sufficient number of qualified, then that would have been translated into 9,298. What does this show? This therefore shows that the budgetary capacity, no, the carrying capacity has not really yet been fully utilized. And we are saying that if we get more data, the remainder, the 60%, this number might also therefore increase. Now, for the seniors, we are comparing the the freshmen incoming and those who are in the senior level right now. So for the senior level, in school year 2015-2016, the total number of enrollees were 93,596. And for 2018-2019, it's 149,349. So there is a jump. There is an increase in the seniors that have enrolled now as compared to 2015-2016. And there is still 60% of the data that we are waiting for, so this number might actually still also increase. Transferees, dumagdag ho ang number of transferees from 409 from school year 2015 to school year 2018, the total number being 638. So there is an increase. And with respect to returning students, there is also a slight increase from 1,033 to 1,119. Now, if you look at the seniors who are in the 5-year courses, the number increased po, no? From 10,179, the number now is 14,361. And for those in the 6-year categories, there were only 225 in 2015-2016, and then now we have 306. So it shows an increase in both the freshmen and in the senior levels. So next, effects of train law. As Attorney Haro mentioned, the RA 10931 came prior to the passage of the train law. But I guess that what the train law wants us to do is for the Philippines to be higher in terms of global competitiveness index. So if you will note, among the ASEAN member states, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand have consistently ranked higher than the Philippines, and with Singapore on the top. Now, with the higher education reform agenda in place, and this would include this major program of this administration, then we might be able to overtake Thailand if we put our efforts in that area and place itself with a higher ranking in the upcoming years. Now, if you review the latest edition of the World Tax Summaries for the Asia-Pacific region in 2017-2018, it revealed that only India, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, and China provided a preferential tax rate for proprietary educational institutions. Comparatively, our 10% preferential tax rate imposed on private educational institutions in the Philippines is lower than 14% in Thailand and in Sri Lanka, and in India, which is about 18 to 21%. So our analysis is that this train law supports the efforts of CHED because after 2 years and institutions do not show compliance with the standards, then they will be imposed a higher imposition of 15% and then 20% after 3 years should they not obtain a certificate of compliance from the Commission on Higher Education. So we are being supported by the train law in making the Philippines more globally competitive in that only compliant or quality institutions will be allowed to operate programs. And that also supports RA 10931 because if you look at the law, there is a very big provision there on quality standards. And when you say quality standards, that means that the programs comply with the policies, standards, and guidelines of CHED and are in the registry of the Commission on Higher Education. Now, I think I want to go to updates on the TESS online portal because the TESS is the third important category in the Unifast law, and it is allotted 16 billion. But since it is limited, if the maximum amount that is given to those in private schools is 60,000, then that means that for 16 billion, we can only have 16,000 grantees for the test, 16,000. I'm sorry, 300,000 for the TES. And therefore, we in pursuing or in selecting this the applicants who will be the qualified beneficiaries of TES, we set up an in-house ICT system of the TES online portal where the institutions will submit the list of their poorest of the poor and near poor students. And based on the prioritization and the names that will be put in, they will be identified, and if they are included in the listahanan 2.0 of DSWD, then they will be ranked accordingly, and that's how they will be chosen. Right now, we have already about 300. As of last night, this was for October 14th, but as of last night, we already had about 354,000 test applications, and this is ongoing because the deadline for importing data to our test online portal is October 30. We are doing a rally so that those regions that have not yet submitted applications, we are pushing them to correctly import the data through the use of our online portal system. So, after this, next slide po. What are the types of institutions that have submitted test applications? As you can see, there are about more than private higher institutions that have submitted as against the SUCs and the LUCs. But if you note, there are almost 1,800 private higher education institutions and only 112 SUCs and 78 LUCs. So we are rallying so that there will be more submissions from our private higher education institutions so that there will be wide participation from those who are poor, because while in SUCs and LUCs, there is no qualification as to finance to be availing of that. All you need is to be admitted and subject to the retention policies. In TES, it is really given to those who need more in life and to be able to sustain education in college for the 4 years. No? So next. This is the system how we distribute. We apply the application, then there is the assessment that is being done. After the assessment is done, then there is an award, and after the award is the issuance of payments. We have institutions that are helping us in this. The DSWD, of course, because it is the Listahanan 2.0 that we are utilizing for the ranking. And we are going to get a service provider for the test management so that those in the private schools will be managed by that provider, because in the public higher education institutions, it is uniform, 20,000 only for tuition. But in the private higher education institutions, they have various amounts in their tuitions. So the Land Bank of the Philippines has been selected by the UNIFAS Governing Board to be our government financing institution, and it will be them that will help us or assist us in the distribution of the cash cards that will be provided to those who will qualify. Since this is transition and we started late, the awardees will get their benefits starting from the first semester. They will get that lump sum, but in the succeeding semester, they will get it monthly, no, on a monthly basis. And wala na yata. That's it. So yun ho ang report namin sa RA 10931 implementation.
MPC questions? Ace Romero.
Attorney, DBCC announced that it may identify items that may be cut, yung expenditure cut, because of the suspension of the excise tax increase on oil. So, have you been given assurance na hindi apektado yung education dun sa maging expenditure cuts?
Yeah, I think Attorney Haro will.
So prior to this meeting, I was able to coordinate with ASEC Lambino. As he has stated, yun na nga po, may mga possibilities, or they're looking at possibilities on how to reduce yung certain services. But as of now, they have not yet made a decision on the matter. They are just in the process of forming a task force to determine which services or ano yung mga services that may be deducted. So as of now, wala pang resolution onto that matter, but yun na nga, pinaprioritize pa rin nila ang education.
But will there be an effort on the part of CHED to urge the economic managers na wag namang galawin yung, kasi non-infra, so that means social service, it includes education, na wag namang galawin yung scholarships, yung sa education? Will there be an effort to ask them?
Definitely. We will be in close coordination with DOF so that yung provision for education will somehow not be affected by any deduction.
What would be the impact if if they decide to reduce yung budget, or if they reduce the expenditures on the education because of the suspension?
As I've said, kasi wala pa namang ganong.
Pero what could happen? Ano yung maapektuhan? Ano yung...
Kung sakala naman, uunahin naman, as ASEC Lambino has stated, uunahin naman yung tinatawag na, di ba, yung for infrastructure. So yung mga provision for basic services, I don't think na ito kumbaga ito siguro yung least priority nila. Ang mga uunahin nila ay yung those mga, yung hindi for education or for basic services.
So you're confident parang kung magkakaroon man, kayo yung ihuhuling bawasan, if ever. Okay, thank you po.
Celerina, microphone please.
Magandang tanghali po. Medyo somewhat not related to what you have discussed regarding the recent pronouncement before by the AFP that some universities in the country or in Metro Manila are being used by the communist rebels to be their breeding ground para sa kanilang new members sa recruitment. Have you confirmed this with the authorities, and have you coordinated with those concerned SUCs or atong mga universities and college?
If for the information of for your information also, yung mga state universities namin are being chaired also by our commissioners. And as of now po, wala naman pong official communication from AFP or from PNP as to those information that they receive that these state universities are somehow engaged in this plot. So kapag meron ng ganoong official communication from AFP, definitely po we will act on the matter. The commission will decide or will somehow determine kung ano ang gagawin namin or next step namin as those that were somehow reported by AFP po.
Ma'am, since the information, the report came out like, I think, several weeks ago, and there's no communication yet from the AFP, do you think nag-witch hunt lang ang military? Or could that somehow affect yung environment inside the universities?
Okay. Ganito, ma'am. Of course, I could not comment pa doon sa report ng AFP because yun na nga, hindi naman kami, we are not privy to all the communication or correspondences or information received by AFP. So we are only acting po sa mga official communication also by the different government agencies.
So right now, you could assure na hindi naman siya ginagawang breeding ground ng mga or recruitment ng mga CPP-NPA.
As I've mentioned po, for our state universities, they are also being shared by our commissioners and as for may mga state universities na share din po ng aming chairperson, Sir Popoy de Vera. And of course, they will not, somehow, they will do all those things na hindi magba-violate ng any laws po ang ating mga state universities and colleges.
Yun bang pagkakaroon ng like, let's face it na there are really some universities na nagkakaroon ng mga discussion regarding sa kung ano yung ini-espouse ng mga NPA and CPP. Did you call their attention or nagkaroon ba ng sanction or anything before?
Okay. Of course, the Commission recognizes academic freedom, freedom of expression of mga state universities, and of course, mga estudyante. So, kaya nga po, gaya po na sinabi ko, wala pa naman po kami na receive na official communication from AFP regarding that matter. So, kumbaga wala pa naman kaming i-action dahil wala pang official communication as to this alleged plots or alleged actions.
Okay, Ian?
Ma'am, in relation to that po, sabi po dati ni Chief PNP, Oscar Albayalde, dapat hindi nag-go against sa mga students, lalo na itong mga scholar ng bayan, doon sa gobyerno kasi silang nagpapaaral doon sa kanila. May ganun bang tinitingnan ng CHED ngayon na magkakaroon ba kayo ng ganung polisiya? Nabanggit nyo nga, mayroong academic freedom Pero paano ito ipatutupad?
Okay. Of course, yung academic freedom naman ay we should also take into consideration yung mga rules, laws, and regulations natin. So as long as yung academic freedom and freedom of expression would not somehow violate our laws and regulations, of course, the Commission would recognize the academic freedom and freedom of expression of mga state universities and ating mga estudyante.
Darrell?
Hi ma'am. Not even the PNP has coordinated with you. Kasi sabi po ni NCRPO Chief Guillermo Elazar, they will seek your guidance daw po on what to do next. Meron na po bang coordination ng PNP?
Okay. As of now, kasi as OIC Executive Director, I am also receiving yung mga communication from the different government agencies. As of now, I have not yet received official communication from the PNP as to this matter.
Questions? RJ?
Ma'am, yung qualifying test for students who would like to avail this free tertiary education, does it depend on the institution?
There is actually admission examination of each institution. That is the only criteria for somebody to avail of the benefits here. You have to be admitted based on the standards or policies set by the school.
Set by the school, so it's
Yes.
up to them if they will tighten it.
Well, it's really up to them. It's their exercise of their institutional autonomy and academic freedom.
It's
CHED
up-
has never interfered, and UNIFAST will also not interfere in that exercise.
So how will this free tertiary education advance the quality of our state universities and colleges?
It will advance because we will not provide the benefits if the program or institution is not in the registry of CHED-recognized quality assured program or institution. So quality standards is very big in the law. The requirement of a registry is also very big there. So from what we have done since last year, we have really been, many institutions really wanted to avail, but if they're not in the registry, especially in the test, kasi sa test po, meron ho yung mga first admission and then registry. If you are not there, then it will lock. You cannot avail of it.
What quality standards are we looking at?
We are looking at the quality standards that are set by the Commission on Higher Education, which it has always done based on its powers under RA 7722. It's minimum standards. It's not the maximum standards, by the way.
Ma'am, in the QS World University ranking, we have at least 4 there, like 1 state university and then 3 private Catholic universities. What happened to the other state universities?
Okay. Yung for the QS ranking, you have to know also na meron certain criteria sila eh. May mga category sila. And one category nila is yung research. Some of our state universities are lacking doon sa research na category. Marami rin naman reasons why they are lacking into this category. Halimbawa, kulang tayo ng funding o kaya naman kulang din ng time ang ating mga faculty considering that they are teaching and they are not able to do research. Oo, mga laboratories, kulang. So, yun yung mga factors or considerations. So, considering na isang factor din ang budget, and pag-i-increase ng budget into state universities would somehow increase provisions sila for research and somehow would increase the quality of their research.
But the fact that we have 3 private universities there, does it mean that private universities provide better education to Filipinos?
Okay. Kung makikita po ninyo yung demographics natin ng mga private higher education institutions tsaka mga state universities po natin, talaga namang a big factor of our higher education sector ay nasa private higher educational institutions. In fact po, sa aming demographics ay 1,000 out of the 1,900, more or less 1,900 higher educational institutions, almost more or less 1,600 or 1,667 yata, if I remember it right, ng ating private higher education institutions. So, less than 30% of which ay nasa ating mga state universities and local universities and colleges. So, kung titingnan mo pa lang yung demographics natin, talagang mas malaki din talaga yung percentage na makakarating talaga doon sa QS ranking ay itong mga private higher education institutions, and also considering that, of course, some of the private higher education institutions ay kumbaga mga non-stock non-profit na talagang established na since time immemorial. So, mas malaki na ang funding nila for research at saka yung mga categories natin na nakabase doon sa QS ranking.
So what are these universities, state universities, doing right now? What's the...
Okay. Yun na nga. They are improving their research faculty, yung research nila so that they would somehow improve dun sa category na yon. Kasi nung tingnan talaga itong QS ranking, malaking factor talaga yung research why some of the state universities were not able to qualify or somehow makapasok doon sa QS ranking.
How do you think this new policy, which is free tertiary education, impact the private sector?
Okay. That is really the point of contention of the private schools. It is a claim that there is actually a lack of complementarity in the treatment of RA 10931. But I always assure them that, you have to understand and study the law, because there is also the tertiary education subsidy is where you can be provided equal benefits, because it is also 16 billion as the free higher education in the SUCs and LUCs is 16 billion. But here, if the student selects or chooses to enroll in a private institution, then the subsidy that he or she will get includes already the tuition in the private school, no? So I was telling the private schools, especially those that are in areas that don't have looks or sooks, they are all qualified to apply for the TES, no? Unlike those with LUCs and SUCs. So I said, maybe you should really participate more in apply no in the online portal, because in all likelihood your students will be of such number that would come in and qualify for this tertiary education subsidy. And the tuition there, it's a subsidy, but the tuition allocation is there if you are a private higher education institution. So when they realize that, now they are really working hard to be able to access our TES.
So they should not really worry that they might be losing a huge number of students will be moving to the state universities.
They should not worry, primarily because there are only a limited number of state universities and colleges and CHED-recognized LUCs. That's just 190 of them. And with the population, they cannot all migrate to these public higher education institutions, because these SUCs and LUCs also have their what you call the carrying capacity. They cannot unreasonably increase the admission, because we will also look, CHED will also look to them. Did you comply with the faculty to student ratio? Did you comply with the requirement for enough classrooms, library facilities, laboratories, and other such or similar equipment and facilities? So pag hindi ho sila sumunod doon, mafe-phase out ho yung kanilang programa. They have been very prudent, and our data shows that there is no such move. In fact, the 40% I was talking about later shows that in fact the carrying capacity has not yet also been maximized, although that's just 40%. Maybe when we get the 60%, there will be some other data that will come in. But right now, mahirap hong sabihin na magmamigrate na ho lahat yung private sa public, kasi limitado ho. And by the very sheer number of the private higher education institutions and the number of those of the SUC, LUCs, talagang hindi ho po pwedeng mangyari ho yun.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
RJ. Pia Gutierrez.
Attorney Haro, on another topic. Ma'am, how is CHED addressing the audit findings of the EMSA, or the European Maritime Safety Agency, with regards to the low performance or the non-compliance of our maritime training programs to the STCW Convention?
Let me just clarify then na yung sa EMSA findings or actually the European Commission findings or observation, ang nag-a-address po nito ay Marina, but this is also in close coordination with CHED. We have already identified those measures that we should do in order to comply with the audit findings. Some of the audit findings kasi doon ng EC ay yung sa competence, of course, ng ating mga maritime students, and ina-address naman natin yon through yung pag-improve ng ating itong tinatawag namin na policy standards and guidelines regarding sa ating BSMT tsaka sa aming BS Mare. So we are in the process of issuing our PSG so that we would be able to comply with the observation of the European Commission. Also, for your information, I think a month ago, President Duterte signed an executive order which strengthened Marina in the determination of how we would be able to comply with the STCW Convention. And Marina and CHED are in close coordination so that we would be able to release the implementing rules and guidelines of that EO. I think it's EO number 63 or 67, so that we would be able to address also the concerns of AC.
So anong role ng Marina right now, ma'am, on approving yung programs or of our maritime schools?
Okay. Doon po sa EO, ang nakalagay po doon that it is Marina which is the lead evaluator. Pero ito yung sa mga maritime, those maritime higher education institutions na mag-o-offer ng BSMT tsaka ng BS Mare. With respect to programs, of course, as mandated by RA 7722, CHED ang CHED ang nagpo-formulate ng minimum standards para sa ating mga programs. But considering na meron tayong yung meron tayong provision na sinasabi ng Marina, ang lead agency with respect to the STCW Convention, at itong EO na nilabas ng ating presidente. We would coordinate with Marina so that yung provisions natin or yung mga programs natin would be in compliance with the STCW Convention. And we can only do that if if Marina and SHED would coordinate for the for our maritime programs.
Hindi po pwede yung joint approval. So the approval would be from CHED in coordination with Marina, tama po?
Yes, joint naman ito. In fact, yung IRR na executive order, it will be a joint issuance by CHED and Marina.
Okay, last
Last
question.
na lang, ma'am. How many maritime schools are found to be non-compliant to the STCW?
I'm sorry, kasi I think yung sa STCW convention ay sa STCW ay nasa Marina. So I'm not sure about the figure now kung ilan ang hindi compliant doon.
So if they're not compliant, will CHED recommend the closure of these programs or
Okay.
these schools?
Okay. Let me just emphasize na hindi lang naman yung sa STCW ang tinitingnan. Kasi meron din, ang check talaga natin, yung programs talaga niya, tsaka yung compliance ng mga maritime higher education institutions with our PSG. So we also take into consideration yung mga faculty nila, o kaya naman yung mga facilities nila, mga laboratories nila, we take that into consideration. So, meron namang procedure tayo, na ini-implement ang Marina at ang CHED with respect to the monitoring of mga maritime higher educational institutions. At may provision doon na if they are found to be non-compliant with our policy standards and guidelines, then, of course, the next step or procedure for CHED and Marina is to somehow, kasi merong proseso na dinadaanan yan, dumadaan yan ng Technical Panel for Maritime Education, and upon recommendation nitong Technical Panel for Maritime Education ay ini-endorse ito sa Commission and Bank ng CHED to determine kung anong mga maritime higher education institutions ang i-phase out o i-close natin.
Last na lang, ma'am. So our approval also of the maritime programs is not only based on their compliance to international safety standards, tama po ba?
Kasi kasama yan, kasi yung sa international safety standards, ay kasama naman yan sa aming CMO, sa policy standards and guidelines.
Okay, last question, Alvin Baltasar.
Attorney Caro, balikan ko lang doon sa freedom of expression. Ano ba yung borderline doon sa freedom of expression sa hanay ng mga estudyante yung pinag-aaral ng gobyerno? Hanggang saan ba yung extent at kailan natin masasabi na may violation na sila?
Okay. Gaya nga, and to clarify, it's Attorney Haro. Ay, sorry. Kasi kanina, Caro yata.
Ay, sorry.
ko.
Haro, ma'am.
Okay. So, gaya nga na sinabi ko, ang freedom of expression, as long as you are not violating laws, then you are free naman to express your insights, your opinion on the matter.
So hanggang saan yung extent, ma'am?
Yun nga, sa akin, ang delineation, as long as you are not violating any laws. So, kung somehow, of course, kung meron ka, kung halimbawa lang sa akin kung somehow ay meron kang nagva-violate ka ng ating revised penal code, nag-incite ka ng sedition, rebellion, nakalagay naman yan sa ating revised penal code na ito ay mga violations din ng ating law. So, kapag may mga violations ng ating revised penal code, ito ang sa tingin ko ang delineation mo on how to determine if someone is violating that freedom of expression.
So halimbawa, ma'am, yung mga term na ibagsak, si ganyan, working with the communists, violation ba yun, ma'am?
Pa-clarify lang po, ibagsak po. Paano po ba ang...
halimbawa, ibagsak si ganyan, si Pangulong ganyan. Si Pangulong Romero. Ganyan, halimbawa.
With other actions, diba?
Okay. Iba-iba kasi ang pagtingin dito. Base na lang din sa circumstance kung paano ito sinabi, saan ito sinabi, at kung ito ay coupled with any actions after that. So ito yung determination mo kung ito ay nagva-violate ka din ng any laws.
Ma'am, one last lang.
Okay.
Ma'am, one last, Rocky. Kung sakaling may violation na nakita, ano yung sanction? Pwede ba siyang maalis bilang scholar ng ano?
Okay. Okay po. Gaya nga na sinabi rin po ni Attorney Season kanina, ang mga institution na may institutional freedom. So sila naman din po ang nade-determine ng qualifications ng kanilang mga estudyante. Ang jurisdiction po ng CHED ay with respect to the higher educational institutions. Pagdating po sa mga estudyante, ang meron pong authority or supervision po dyan ay ang ating mga higher educational institutions. With respect to our state universities and colleges and mga local colleges and universities, of course, meron silang mga governing board na may mga supervision over the students and may authority over the students, and as well as merong institutional freedom to determine yung qualifications sa kanilang mga estudyante.
Last question, Ina.
Ma'am, quick lang doon sa tinatanong niya. Because the allegation of the AFP is that the communists are recruiting students in colleges. Now, if this is true, a student is recruited and it results to him or her joining protest actions. Ganun lang po. Is that still covered by by academic freedom?
Okay. Kung protest actions, gaya nga na sinabi ko,
With communists. Kasi yun yung allegation, ma'am eh.
Alam niyo naman, kung meron naman tayo mga provisions ng law which addresses yung issues doon sa communism. So, gaya nga na sinabi ko kanina, kung merong violation ng ating laws, yung with respect to laws ng sa communism, then ito yung aaktuhan dapat ng governing board ng higher education institutions at ng CHED naman over the higher educational institutions.
Okay, thank you, Ina. Thank you, Attorney Haro. Thank you, Attorney Season. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Back to main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.